when you are writing to a panel, and I think that again, I want to preface this with not every panel is the same, right? But
Yep.
when you're writing to a panel, do you write differently? Are there specific things that you keep in mind that are different than when you might write to like a family foundation or something?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And I think you already said this at least one time, but like you want to make sure that like every grant that you're doing is like slightly different, right? Like because you're talking to someone slightly different. So like there's pretty much no two applications that will be exactly identical, right? Because you'll have like different ways of distributing funding, or different grantors have different priorities. Like these kinds of things are all important to look at before you submit your application. um but yes, like I think one of the big things, like with a panel versus a family foundation, a lot of the time if you're applying, I mean, you can correct me if you feel differently about this, but like I feel like a lot of family foundations, like if you're applying to them, ideally, like a lot of them don't have a ton of funding for new grantees.
Yeah.
And so ideally you're going to have some sort of personal connection to them. And like that's sort of the easiest, quickest way to like actually get that funding, but you still have to submit an application and it still has to like meet their qualifications, right? But because you hopefully have someone who can like advocate for you, either a board member or you have a board member who knows one of their board members, something like that, you can be you there's a little bit more that like get for free, as they say. Like you don't have to go into like every single like nuts and bolts thing, whereas
Yeah.
with the panel you do want to be very detailed. And as you said, like for the most part I think you want to be very clear. You want to use a lot of numbers. Like they want to know how many things you do a year, they want to know how many people you reach, and like you should never worry about submitting numbers. Like I like on the DCA, there was never a moment when it was like, why does this company only do one show a year? Like never once was that the question. But if you don't say how many shows a year you do, then it's sort of like, well, what is the money that we are giving them going towards?
Yeah.
Um, and I just think, yeah, like when you're writing for a panel, like one of the biggest things is just remembering that like there are things that you take for granted that about your company because you live and breathe them 40 to 80 hours a week. So
Yeah.
like you're like, of course I'm in charge of this company. Of course I'm the one who makes, as we were saying before, of course I'm the one who makes the artistic decisions. Like this is obvious. If you know anything about us, you know that that's true. However, you might be writing to someone who does not know anything. So you do need to say stuff like that. You do need to say like who's making the decisions and how they get made. And, we do 2 productions a year, whatever. Like, like some of the things that to you feel very obvious because you live and breathe them all the time.
Yeah, and this is why having someone else who doesn't know you as well read your grant before you submit it and read it with the criteria in mind is really helpful. This is, I think, one of the things that we do for some clients where they might be the writing and we're doing the editing, but also as someone outside of their organization, we can often ask questions because we're learning about their work through the writing process. We actually, Rosalind is doing this for some of our clients right now. For some clients that we've been working with for a long time, having Rosalind come in and read from her perspective as not knowing the group, she's going to be bringing some questions that perhaps we've stopped asking because now we've been with you guys for so long.